the whole issues. Professor Chourdakis.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and I'm also taking the opportunity to thank Professor Anastasiadis because he's coordinating and helping and continuing the initiation started with Professor Dobros more than a decade ago to build a very strong nutrition curriculum in our school, being maybe the only one in Europe and among the very few in the world having an elective course in the 3rd year, a main course in the 5th year, and very successful postgraduate studies for health promotion and applied nutrition already since 4 years. And I'm also thanking Dr. Breda and Dr. Theodorakis because they are being very strong support to the efforts we are having for this collaborating center, and without them, it would never have moved forward. So I'm taking the opportunity to present you some data about the interaction and the relation between nutrition and well-being and quality of life. We have already heard how important mental health might be. And as you can see here, in the last many decades, almost 2 centuries, poverty is going down, education, literacy are going higher, democracy rates are improving, at least theoretically, vaccination and is getting better, child mortality is getting lower. And all this overall, among other things, have resulted in a higher happiness rate, higher life satisfaction, higher subjective well-being rate, despite the fact that you can see in the yellow line dropping in the left part of this slide, that income is going down overall. And it might be that this good things happening to our well-being and quality of care might also be related to other factors. And let's see if nutrition is playing a role or could be playing a role here. First of all, there is this study showing the trends in diet quality among older adults in the United States, starting in the beginning of the 21st century and almost for 2 decades, studying what was happening. And as you can see here, the trends are not going only to one direction. For some food categories, there is some improvement. For some others, there is some other trend in the consumption rates. But overall, we have to admit that nutrition is changing in the last years. But what is happening or what has happened in Europe during the last years? In this study published last year, we had almost 5,000 people, all of them Spanish university graduates, and the study tried to elaborate and see if there were changes in the dietary quality indices over a 10-year study period, trying to find changes in main diet patterns like the DASH diet, the MIND diet, which is also related to mental disorders, different types of Mediterranean diet. And overall, the Mediterranean diet adherence, the highest it was, the better the results, and the improvements were stronger for those being females, being older than 35 years old of age, and for those being more physically active. So this might be a good way to start targeting the population who might need help, because these 3 categories are among those who need less help because they have been improving even without some intervention. In another study, systematic review trying to find the association between different dietary patterns and health-related quality of life. You see 8 of those studies were between different Mediterranean diet patterns, whereas the 5 were in different health diet patterns, but not exclusively relevant to the Mediterranean diet. But both categories scored better for quality of life, irrespectively of the tools, scores, and scales that were used, which gives us a very strong hint that the type of quality, the type of diet plays a very important role in the overall quality of life. And as well as Scales regarding physical activity and mental health were also better with these types of diets. In another study, and this systematic review and meta-analysis included only children and adolescents. Here again, you can see that the better the diet that was used, or the diet that was followed, because this was not an intervention, the higher the quality of life and well-being scales. Could it be that a diet which is very specific and relevant to a health problem might be worsening quality of life? Yes, of course. But at the same time, we see that even with celiac disease, which needs, its patients need a very specific and diet fully excluding gluten, still you can see that there were no big differences in the quality of life between those following the diet and healthy controls. At the same time, for those having some other gastroenterological issues which do not have at this point a very specific treatment, some nutritional interventions have been tested, such as using a low FODMAP diet. And for example, for irritable bowel syndrome, you can see that such type of diet brings specific improvements in the condition, and in this way indirectly improves their overall quality of life and well-being. What might be the pathways that bring us to this result? As you can see here, a good quality diet, meaning better fats, limited fast food and limited sugars and not too many salt, abundant fruits and vegetables and high fiber, is going to improve the physical health due to multiple biological pathways, either because there is insulin is working better, there is less cardiovascular risk, weight is tending to maintain towards a healthy degree, and other health behaviors, which all of those at the same time are very crucial determinants also for the physical and mental health and comorbidities, because a healthier weight might be is linked to better physical activity, and this is also a good thing for mood. It lowers the stress, it lowers the risk of illnesses, and at the same time, not having them brings you to this positive cycle of again getting back to a higher and a better diet. Some very basic hints on a couple of pathways could be that the high glycemic index or high glycemic load diet, or a diet which is very high in refined carbohydrates, might be among the very important facts that play this role. And this is, as I'm going to show you in one of my next slides, well related also to the fact that with following a low glycemic index diet, you avoid very big disturbances of the concentration of glucose. Same results in another diet among women. And here you can see in this systematic review and meta-analysis, these two are randomized controlled trials. There was an intervention with the use of a lower or a higher glycemic index. And as you can see, results showed that there might be 20 to 35% improvement among those patients. So last study that I want to show you is this one with the very nice and catchy title, Let Them Eat Fruit. Here they try to change the pattern of carbohydrate intake among young adults, meaning trying to shift them from eating refined sugars to eat more fruits. And the controls, there was no intervention among them, whereas the light gray line, the EMI, they were only being reminded to eat more fruits. And the last arm of this study, the VI, they were not only reminded, but they were given vouchers to get free fruits. And as you can see here, both for vitality as well as for flourishing, there was a big change, even only after 14 days of eating more fruits and shifting from refined sugars to fruits instead as a main source of carbohydrates. So this is another hint where we could be targeting young adults and shifting them from the refined sugars. And with this, I want to show you my last slides, which is about the interaction that vitamin D could be having on the well-being and the quality of life. But this study is not an intervention from food, it's a supplementation. And as you can see, even though for some of the outcomes, vitamin D supplementation might be favored, from some others, it's not. So at the moment, we could not give such a guideline. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm open to questions as well as with this, discussing all that is open with the rest of the panel.
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear Professor Chourdakis.